Hey, it's Anita Anello with the Messy Middle. I have Holly Moore here with me. And I have to say, I love podcasting. It's so much fun because it's like I get to meet my new best friends everywhere I go, everywhere I meet people all the time. So, Holly, welcome to the show. We're super excited to have you here. How about give us like a little bit of intro? What's your specialty in life? And then we'll get started on the show and your background.
Thank you so much, Anita, for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk to you today. My specialty in life, wow. By trade, I am a divorce attorney in Southern California. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own a law firm. We have locations around Southern California, and I really love to help people get through the most difficult time of their life.
Yeah, I love that. That is good because there's so many. Divorce is one of those topics that's very hard, right? It can be
It
very
is.
difficult to navigate when your life feel like you have it all together and your life is apart and you're like,
Absolutely.
what
A
do I
lot of
do
pain
next?
involved in that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get started? Was it in law school or while you were in like before law school and you knew what you wanted to do, or you got into law school and you thought, this is an area that I really want to specialize because of what happened?
We say family law doesn't, or you don't find family law, it finds you. And that was definitely my situation. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was like very small, young
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I haven't been able to uncover that yet. My parents aren't lawyers. There were no lawyers in my family. But from very early on, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. You go through law school, and I didn't have any preconceived thoughts about which field I wanted to go in or anything like that. But during law school, I started working at a law firm during an externship. And that particular law firm did construction defect and family law, a very unlikely pairing.
Oh, wow. I've never
um,
heard of that together.
I haven't either. I haven't either. I haven't heard of it before that and since that. But so I started off doing construction defect in that part of the firm, and I hated it. The legal aspect was really interesting, but that type of law is very paper intensive. It's civil litigation. So you don't go to court very often. It's just a lot of paperwork. And the point is to bury the other side in paperwork and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the day, what it really is, it's if anybody knows anything about construction defect, usually you think of, oh my gosh, a family that maybe bought their first home and the home was like a lemon and you sue the builder. But in reality, what it really is mostly is really wealthy land developers suing really wealthy subcontractor companies.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of egos, it's a lot of money, it's very lengthy and expensive litigation. And at the end of the day, I just felt like this doesn't really feel good to my soul. I had a client saying, Holly, sue that guy, sue the owner of that sub company. And I'm like, okay, yes, I will. Why are we suing him? He's, I don't know, find something. I can't stand that guy.
Oh,
And I'm
man.
like thinking, wow, I racked up all those student loans for this. So, in any case, because of the strange dynamics of that firm doing construction defect and family law, I had a close relationship with the partner that did family law. And I told her, like, this sucks. And
Yeah.
she's come work under me and do family law for a while and see if that's a better fit. And immediately it just felt so much better to my soul to do that. I
Totally.
felt like I was actually really helping people.
Yeah, I love that. Isn't it so fun and so interesting the journey that we take as entrepreneurs? And then when you start jumping into the area that you're supposed to be in for that season or for a long stretch, whatever that looks like, I love how it's like your soul starts to come alive. You're like, oh, this is it. It's like I woke up. I woke up to
Right.
myself and realized,
Yes.
oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing either for long stretches of time or for shorter seasons. And I've had that in my journey as well. It's so good. Okay, cool.
Yes.
What's your favorite part about just as an entrepreneur? As we were getting started, you were talking to me about the creative aspect of being an entrepreneur and coming up with different ideas for clients and for the team and then marketing. So that's actually like three topics in one. So let's start at the top there. Talk to me about your creative process. What does that
Oh
look like? And
gosh.
what really fires you up in the creative process when you're looking for a solution for a client?
So one of the things that yes, my soul lit up in doing family law, but then you find yourself in the trenches doing it day in and day out and day in and day out. And when you're that in it in the trenches, lawyering on its face is not a creative endeavor at all. It's quite the opposite. You use a different part of your brain. You can never make a mistake. Mistakes
Oh,
in lawyering are death to your
yeah.
client.
Yeah.
But I always had this really creative aspect of me that I felt was actually really stifled by lawyering. I love fashion. I love interior design. I love party planning. And it was like I would do those things as hobbies just to the max. My husband's, oh my God, we're planning another party. Are you kidding me? You're painting the walls another color? Like, when is this going to stop? But I felt like I needed that outlet because there isn't a part of me that's very creative. So once I opened my own firm and then built that firm to a level where I could pull back out of the trenches a little bit,
Yeah.
I found that, and then I started hiring people under me and lawyers to work the cases and stuff like that, even though I still also practice and have my own caseload. But I realized, okay, lawyers by nature don't actually focus on the actual experience that the client is having.
Oh,
Law
no.
school completely poisons our brain and twists our brain into all these weird ways where we get very focused on, okay, we need to do this motion and that subpoena
Yeah.
and this technical legal stuff. And it's very hard for the lawyers to pull back and be like, what is the client even feeling? What is the client experiencing? What is this like for them? How can we actually make their life better in the bigger picture?
Yeah.
And so that's what I really love to do, is not only train the team on those types of things, but also actually put into place systems and procedures where we can really meet the client where they are emotionally
Yeah.
and not just legally, and really make it a better experience for them.
Wow. That's so amazing. Like I've never, in my experience with divorce lawyers, that was not what I experienced.
I think most people don't experience that. And it
Yeah.
drives me nuts because, of course, the legal part of it is insanely important. But to the client, they don't know the difference between whether you just wrote the most brilliant trial brief of your life or it's a terrible trial. They don't know the difference.
Right.
And that's not what helps them through the process. What helps them through the process is the human aspect of it. Do I feel like somebody's fighting for me? Do I feel like somebody truly has my back? Do I feel heard? Do I feel seen? That's what the client is feeling and experiencing. And if we don't really speak to those pain points, what are we doing? Like, we're
Right.
not really helping the client in the big picture.
Yeah, yeah. That this is fascinating to me. I love this. Having had so I'm married now, but my husband and I were both married before. And as I was going through my divorce from a abusive ex-husband, it was like, can you imagine? Like none of that. I'm sure you experienced this. Like none of that stuff happened. It was
Yeah.
actually quite the opposite. So how do you add talk to me a little bit more about the creative element to help somebody walk through that process a little bit better? Like, I really want to hone in on the creativity part of it so that your client gets a different experience altogether. Can you go a little bit deeper on that?
Okay, so do you mean how do I design a process to do all the things that I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think it's really just, taking my lawyer hat off and putting my human brain, plugging my human brain back in, which
Yeah.
is actually a very different brain than a lawyer brain, and just thinking, what does the client actually need from us? Because they don't need a subpoena to this. They
Yeah.
don't say, I'm having a really bad day. Please do a subpoena to Wells Fargo. That's not what, yes,
Yes.
we know that they need that. It's part of the technical process.
Right.
But what they really mean, or what they really need, is how do I get over the fear of what the hell is my life going to look like in a year when I have to move out of the house that
Yeah.
I've put blood, sweat, and tears into? Like, what is that actually going to look like? How do I process through that? Is my life going to end? Am I going to be sad forever? Things like that. Again, we are still just lawyers, so I don't want to overstate what we can do for people. We're not therapists, we're not life coaches, we're not
Right.
any of those things, but I
Right.
think we can take a holistic approach. So back to your question of what is the process? I really just try to put myself in the client's shoes. What are they afraid of? How can they get from today to tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because for a lot of them, it's let's take this one day at a time.
Yeah.
So we have things like guided journaling, where we have a journal that we put together where it gives them a journal prompt, but it also will have a litigation tip at the bottom of the page, or how to communicate with your attorney in a better way, or if you feel like you're not getting enough attention from your attorney or things like that, like here's a tip to do that. So it's guided journaling to help them get through the emotional aspect of it, and then also blending that with the legal process, because of course we have to address the legal processes. So we have resources like that available to our clients. We also offer a program called the Blue Binder Project if they want to go a step above that, which actually does involve life coaching and therapists and things like that. And sometimes we have clients that definitely we can sense are in a much more precarious mental and emotional place than others. And
Mhm.
we highly recommend them to do that program because it's been, we didn't invent that. We just have a license to use that, but it's
Mhm.
been studied by a couple different universities, and there's a lot of data that it has helped with suicidal
Yeah.
ideations and things like that that are
Right.
much more serious.
Wow.
So things like that. And then we get to a more surface level type of stuff where we have a program in the firm where the employees have a budget that they are supposed to spend on the clients. So
Oh.
it's okay. Every paralegal, like, you got to find $100 worth of stuff to do for our clients. Is it sending them flowers when they're having a bad day? If
Mhm.
you're out of your budget, is it writing them a handwritten note and mailing it snail mail? Is it sending them a coffee? Is it having their favorite lunch delivered when they have a meeting with you at the office?
Mhm.
Things like that. So that's on a much more superficial level, but it always feels good when
Yeah.
somebody thinks of you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love what you guys are doing. This is incredible. I
Thank
have
you.
no need for you. Thank you very much, but this is
Good.
awesome. I'm so excited. Okay, what about if we shift gears a little bit? Like, first of all, hats off to you, Holly, for coming up with some of these, like a system to really walk somebody through a very difficult season in their life. Like, I just honor everything that you're doing. And I know that you're just giving me like the tip of the iceberg when you talk about this. So I see it come out in your face and your heart. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. What about, let's shift gears and talk about like the creativity around your team. What are some of the things that you like to do around there?
I believe that my people are my biggest asset. The firm's people are the firm's biggest asset. And so we try to do things to make them feel valued, to
Yeah.
make them like coming to work, to really foster teamwork. So we have things like, one of the things we do is Bonusly. It's an app. It's almost like our own little social media channel where you give shout outs to team members with points.
Yeah.
And then once that team member racks up any amount of points, they have a massive catalog that they can spend the points on.
Yeah.
And it becomes a really fun thing because it's full of gifts. If I ever want to just laugh, I'll go through our Bonusly feed because it's so funny with all the gifts that people are sending back and forth. GIF, not
Yes.
GIFTS. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like we do things like that. I also, even though I still do practice law, I don't do it as much as I used to do. My caseload is smaller. And so what I have found in that is my focus has shifted from making sure all of my clients are really reaching their highest potential and using this divorce and this experience to do something extraordinary and to go on and live a better life. Like, I've shifted that focus a little bit to the team. I want the
Yeah.
team to reach their highest potential. And however short or long their time at the firm is, I want that to be an experience that they look back on and say, wow, that really helped me show up as the best version of myself. So
Yeah.
we do things that are called Power Hour, where it's like once a month we gather together, they get free lunch, which probably is the big drawing thing for them. But for me, it's then we have a little lesson on something that they could use in their professional life, maybe their
Nice.
personal life,
Mhm.
but it's not legal. It's usually more like personal, along the lines of personal development.
I
So
love
just
that.
things like that.
That's so good. Do you know, this might be an interesting fact for you. Do you know most people as adults have not been celebrated since they were at their high school graduation? The
What?
majority of the population. So
Really?
that's, yeah, you can put it into the category of 98% of people in the world have not been celebrated since they were at their high school graduation. So where you were talking, I was thinking, this is so amazing because what a great opportunity to celebrate ourselves and to celebrate others as they're
Yeah.
doing a great job. That's one of the things that we do in our master classes that we teach and then with our team as well. Let's celebrate the wins that
Wow.
we have, whether they seem small or whether they're big, whatever that looks like. So great job. You're in that 3% market of being able
I can't believe
to
that.
foster an environment where people can have a higher chance of feeling seen and heard and known and then also celebrated. So
Right.
that's amazing. Can you believe that
I
the
can't believe
majority of the
that.
people that we know have not been celebrated at all, and it's usually the opposite. Like their internal dialogue that they're having with themselves can be so negative, and then not many people are cheerleading them
Yeah.
in their lives.
Wow.
I
Well,
know.
that's really sad.
Mhm.
And it also reminds me, we also do this thing called the celebration survey, where all the staff and our clients actually, they fill out like what would you want under $50? Like, what would be, your dream trip? What would you like, all these things that would just make them feel celebrated and good.
Yeah.
And then like just the other day, Aaron, my producer who you met
Yeah.
prior, he was like hanging up this picture in somebody's office. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And I read on her survey that she really loves peonies and that. So we got her like a little piece of art that had her favorite flower on it as something special. So I am really glad that we do that because I did not know that most people are not celebrated.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. The world is harsh. It's a harsh place.
It is. It is. And when you couple like what goes on in the world exterior to us, and then also with the thoughts and the language that we're telling ourselves all the time, right? I'm not good enough, all the things, instead of recognizing, like the great Zig Ziglar would have people do affirmations of I'm this, like I'm a person of integrity. I'm amazing. I'm this. I'm not in a way that's boastful or arrogant, but in a way that is correct. That actually not only reaffirming though, but actually in my show and in my world, I'm always putting things in the context of like God in our lives. So if anybody's listening and that's not your context for life, that's no problem. But recognize that each and every person on the planet, whether they know God or not, he's made them. He loves them. He called them amazing, right? When man was made, God said, I made man, I made woman, and I called it good. And so just to be able to recognize that the creator of the universe thought so much about us that he celebrated us and said, hey, you guys are awesome. You're beautiful. You're talented. You're incredible. You're smart. You're figuring things out. Can you see how even just the difference of those kinds of statements that I make towards you or about myself, like it totally changes my countenance. It changes my outlook. Like how important is it for all of us to have areas in our life that are so many things it's not even just people, like media today. It's a little bit crazy what's going on. And so, that's why I say good job you for being able to to create an environment where you're championing and cheerleading people to be their best selves and then celebrating them along the way. That's awesome. You don't hear that too much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love that. I'm so excited for you. I want to hear more. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, you said in our kind of like our pre-interview call, we were talking about how you love marketing and how just sexy marketing is and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you love about marketing? And are you talking about for your firm and your services, or is there a different context? I just want to set the stage for our listeners.
Yeah. Let me just clarify, because if my business coach hears that, he will be like, you are so wrong. I think
I just heard Aaron laugh in the background.
Like the part of marketing where you have the new idea for a new campaign. I was like sitting on the couch last night with my husband working on a new project and talking about the new slogan and the new names. And like that part is like sexy and fun. Now, that's really not the heart of marketing. The heart of marketing, as my business coach would remind me and, beat it into my head, is like the metrics, and it's not sexy at all. It's boring, and you got to like day in, day out implement and like all the boring stuff. But as a visionary in my DNA, it's like what really excites me is like the new ideas and the big ideas. But that's not really, that doesn't keep the trains running on time. You have to do the boring stuff that nobody wants to do. Like that's the important stuff.
You got to do the work. You got to do the work after the ideas come to you. Yes,
absolutely. Yes. And you've got to just implement day in and day out, which is not my strength. But as far as what excites me, it's like the new ideas and the new marketing campaigns and, oh my gosh, this is going to be so amazing. It may not be, it might be a complete flop, but it's really exciting to think about. Yeah,
that's awesome. So there's Myron Golden talks about the 4 levels of wealth creation. And what you're talking about is in that top tier of what's called ideation. And so anytime we're trying to create value or create wealth, both of those kind of follow 4 simple steps. And up at the top is ideation. And so you're in good company when you're up in that top level because you're hanging around with the Steve Jobs of the world, the Walt Disneys of the world. That's actually where I love spending the most amount of time in my business, where I create high ticket offers for clients and then work on the choreographer for the master classes and that kind of stuff. But so I can see as your face lights up, like that is the beginning of it, is right. As we come up with the ideas, we try a bunch of stuff and we say, what about this? I love that as well. That's one of my favorite things to do in my business. So I can appreciate that when you talk about it, your face lights up. Yes, I'm working on a new project. Yeah.
Anita, I'm just dying to ask you because when you talk about what you do, it's so specific.
Yes.
Like high ticket offers in a virtual setting. How, if you don't mind my asking, like how did you tell me about why that is your niche? How did you get there?
Oh, okay. So in the online space, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. In the online space, a lot of gurus in the market would tell everybody in the online space that the way that you make money online is you start with what's called a tiny offer. That's actually coined by, I can't think of her name. It's Allie something. I'm so sorry. I can't think of her last name right now. Anyway, start with this real small offer or like a free lead magnet and then work your way up the value ladder.
Okay.
And then most people in the online space, many people, what they're doing is they might have an offer that's $297 or $1,000 or $2,000. And they in the online space consider $2,000 to be a high ticket offer. Okay. In the worlds that I swim around in, a high ticket offer is like 25K and above. Okay. Probably something like what you're doing with your business coach. I'm not asking, I'm just assuming. And so in that arena, what I found is that if I start low and slowly work my way up, it's the slowest way to grow a business. It's the most painful way to grow the business. And it also takes the longest to grow a business in that manner. Okay. So at the beginning, a couple of things happened. My business was going okay, but my husband's income was covering the bulk of our household needs. And then about 2 years ago, he went in for an outpatient procedure and ended up in the emergency room and spent a week in the cardiac wing. And while he was in the hospital, I get a call from his business partner, and he said something like, Anita, I'm so sorry. It's such bad timing, but we need to stop payroll for Vince. And we needed to stop it last week. And again, I'm so sorry. Gotta go. Okay. That kind of stuff. And I was like, what is going on? So in that season, we're a homeschooling family. Like I'd been super successful in my corporate career, loved all that, retired early, homeschooled the kids, started some businesses. Then this stuff happens with my husband a couple of years ago. And at first, Holly, I was a mess. I was wrecked. I would go to the hospital during the day, put on my mom face when I came home, and my kids would be like, so I was like, everything's okay. We're going to be fine. And I would go in my bedroom and just lose it.
Yeah.
And so a little bit of time went by. I figured a couple of things out. But the first thing I did is I really just decided, I'm like, no matter what, I've been successful in the past. I know I can be successful again. I'm going to figure this out. So almost immediately I went to my kids when my husband was still in the hospital. And I was like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. I don't have all the answers to everything, but I know that we're going to figure out what we need to do with dad. He'll be fine. Like God's going to take care of him. We'll get him what he needs. We were also both entrepreneurs at the time. So no medical insurance in the midst of a hospital stay. You could imagine how wonderful that is. But I remember looking at my kids and telling them, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but I know that we'll figure some things out with dad and we will be okay no matter what. And I looked them square in the eye. And as I said those words, my kids' face, their whole countenance changed because they knew mom as a woman of integrity. If I said we were going to be okay, all of a sudden, all of the stress completely melted off them. Like I could see it in their face right then and there. And I was like, okay, what are we going to do? So I go about my business and make some connections in the corporate world that I had. I had a conversation with a gentleman that had about $100 million business I made a high ticket offer to him that was irresistible. When I said, I can get you out of pain and back into pleasure in the business sense, of course, they were right. They had a project that was millions of dollars over budget, 6 years behind schedule. And my expertise absolutely lines up with that. Like this kind of face of, yes, I can totally help you on a Zoom call. Yeah. And in one call, I closed him and that client netted out to be over 6K. And I was like, my whole life has changed. Yeah. I made good money before, but all of a sudden I made like the same amount of money that like 6 times my old corporate income in a condensed period of time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am convinced high ticket is the way. Wow. So then I went and invested in myself and learned a little bit more about the high ticket space and delivering those with virtual events. And then I partnered with a good friend of mine in this system that we use. We've done over $17 million of high ticket offers and that kind of stuff. And I don't say that to impress anybody, just to really impress upon people what's possible. When we start in our business at the high ticket level, then there's profit margin, and then you can go down and do whatever you want. Like in the online space, it's your business. If you want to start a nonprofit or serve at scale at a lower ticket, go do that. But start at the high dollar amount first. Right. And then with that profit, that actually funds everything else. And so honestly, Holly, I'm having more fun in my business than I have had in years. Yeah. Like this year alone, it has been so amazing to see what's possible and connect with entrepreneurs. Now, my sweet spot, I have two offers. I have one offer where entrepreneurs are stuck at like 10 to 20K a month and want to put in like a 6-figure day in their business. Okay. Or entrepreneurs that are stuck at about 50 to 500K that want to put a 7-figure day into their business. Yeah. And so can you hear even in that language, like that offer, those offers are all about the result I get for somebody else. They are not about Anita's this, that, the other. I'll bring all my secret sauce to the table. Yes. And you get all my expertise and all the things that I'm really good at strategic problem solving and negotiation, and with wisdom, being able to like see an area where somebody's stuck and then understand the goal and then map out a project plan in my mind like that. Those are areas that I'm already an expert in. And I have been using those skill sets for more than 20 years. And so being able to package those into offers for other entrepreneurs that'd be like, oh my gosh, you can help me do what? Like I can think of an amazing high ticket offer for you as we're talking. Like
I'll be interested to hear about that. But I don't recall if you said this when we were recording or in our conversation before. Yeah. But you talked about how you really focus on results and not all of your accolades. And when you said that, I was thinking, yes, exactly. That's every lawyer's problem, is because we are all and I feel like this is really what I have taken to heart and why I've created all those things for the clients, is because so many lawyers are obsessed with themselves and how amazing and smart we are, and not really focused on what the client doesn't care. The client doesn't care where you went to law school. I did have somebody just the other day going, I need to see where she went to law school before I agree that she's going to handle my case. But that's very rare. Clients don't care where you went to law school. They don't care what your GPA was in law school. Like, they don't care about all those accolades. They want to know how am I going to go from being in immense pain right now? Yeah. How are you going to get me through that to where I can not be in that pain anymore and my life can be better and I can get through this process? Yeah. So I love that you said that, because I think a lot of people, and in my space, I think about lawyers because that's who I deal with. Yeah. Like they don't recognize that. They don't recognize that it's not about us. It's about the result for the client.
It's a shame. And just for somebody who's listening right now, like I'm going to mess you up. I'm just warning you ahead of time. It's not going to be so straight with you. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about how many months I'll take like a consulting or a coaching offer, and then we'll actually shift gears and move it back into the lawyer space for you. Nobody cares about if you're going to have 12,000 calls with them and 120,000 modules and X amount of mastermind. No, nobody cares about those. All of those are what are called the vehicle that you're going to deliver the amazingness that you have, that actually people only care about. And this is true, actually, especially with higher ticket buyers. They only care about the outcome that you can get for them. Now, they might care for your degree and your pedigrees and all that great stuff and your experience later, but they will never care about that until they understand that you can get them the results that they're looking for. So even in the case of your client, he possibly heard a whole bunch of good stuff about the outcome that you can get him, and then said, oh yeah, by the way, where did she go to school? But it's never the reverse. It's never you went to Harvard Law or whatever. Right. You can list off the best law schools in the country. It's not about that first. The other thing that's so interesting is people always buy what they want. They don't buy what they need. In every level of the market, we never actually buy what we need. That's proof point for everybody who's walking around with $1,000 or whatever or more. Nobody needs the phone at $1,000 or $2,000. No one on the planet needs that. I won't even say any brands. Nobody needs the new phones that are out. They're amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're awesome. We love them, but we don't need them. We want them. Yeah. We might justify it as a need to our spouse or to our accountant or I don't know, something like that. I need this one. I have to have this new one. But it's right. So see, we buy what we want. We buy the outcome that we want. Everybody wants results. Everybody wants results faster. The higher that the our high ticket buyers buy and they actually are looking for more value. Can you imagine in the attorney space, if I'm going to go to somebody to solve any legal problem that I have, would I think, here's the other part, high ticket buyers don't actually trust low ticket offers. They do not
Totally.
know.
Totally.
So just pretend, I'll put out some pretend rates. If you as my attorney, not you, Holly, because I don't know anything about your business financially, but I'm going to assume if you as my attorney said, oh yeah, I can get you the outcome in your divorce that you want. I'm going to get you blah, 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 blah. And I charge $200 an hour versus, yeah, Anita, I'm going to get you the same deliverables, but I charge $1,200 an hour. In my mind, even without having a conversation, the evidence file in my mind tells me she's probably better if she's charging this versus this. And so we know that in every single segment of the market, that is actually, that's
real. Yeah.
Brendan Bouchard says it this way: our internal insecurities are not market reality. So if my internal insecurity is I can't charge a higher price and then attract those higher ticket buyers, because high ticket buyers are looking for something very different than our lower ticket buyers. No shame against the low ticket buyers. It's not where I swim around at all anymore, but so our high ticket buyers are looking for something different. And when we create high ticket offers that actually attract those kind of buyers with the outcome about them, and I know that I can get them the results faster, I can get them in close proximity to power, we can get them the money that they're looking for in their business, we can get them the cash inflection. If they want to do it in a month, a 6-figure day in a month, go for it. If you want to do it in a day, that's possible too. It's totally up to you. If you want to do 7 figures in a month or a day, you choose whatever you want. It's your business, right? Okay, so we were going to talk about attorneys. Let's see here. I didn't lose my train of thought on attorney offers. I'll have to come back to it. There. You had an example earlier, and I was going to relate one in the high ticket space other than the one that I just did, but it'll come back to me, I promise.
Okay. But back to what we were talking about in terms of leading with accolades. Isn't there a saying that says something like, they don't care about you unless they know that you care, or something to that effect? And I see this on social media all the time, where people are on social media as a brand, either a business or a personal brand, and they're trying to get clients. And they're always like, let me tell you about myself. For anybody new here, let me tell you about myself. I am this and I'm that, and I'm great in this way and that way. And it drives me insane, because I'm thinking, nobody freaking cares, because I don't know what you can do for me yet.
Right.
You haven't shown me any value. Yeah. And so I don't care about you. I don't care what you're good at. It's the old, what's in it for me. Yeah. And I think entrepreneurs really need to shift their thinking, if they haven't already, that nobody cares about you and all of your accolades until they know that you care about them and what you can do for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Because here's what I was going to this perfect segue into what we were talking about. If you're an attorney and you're good at a specific skill set, maybe you're like a ninja lawyer that you can just slice and dice, write down like corporate negotiations. Okay. So if as your client, you can get me an outcome where I can negotiate a new business deal and we can come out as a win, and I don't feel like I'm losing anything, I'm not even using great copy around that offer. That is not what I just said out of my mouth, is not amazing copy at all. But can you see how I'm focusing on the outcome that you as my attorney can get for me, you as my lawyer can get for me? I'm not focusing on what your education is, where you went to school, how many cases you've done, what your success rate is, blah, 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 blah. Those things are actually, they're fine later. If somebody wants to dig in more, then it is what it is. Right? The pedigree that everybody has, the experience that everybody has, it is what it is. It's either there or it's not, or whatever. But it's not what we lead with. So to your point earlier, even on social media and all of our marketing material and all of our offers, if we start to get in our mind just this shift that, number one, don't start low and then work your way up, start higher. And then if you want to, it's your business. Go down to that, down lower on the value ladder, but then also focus all of your communication on an outcome that I can get for somebody else first and foremost. And then if people want it, okay, great. I have a 250K VIP day. Is that what's going to draw you to me? No, it's the fact that I can put a 7-figure day in your business. This client that I did that was over 600K, they were already doing $1 million a day. And now they are literally set up so they can double their revenue in the next 2 to 5 years. If it takes them 5 years, Holly, that's going to be on them, but they're ready right now.
Yeah.
They're ready right now to double their revenue, and they are owned by $1 billion parent. There is right now that we have shifted some things in their business so radically. Now, in that case, in consulting, we shifted their team, we shifted their systems, their processes, a whole bunch of other stuff that I can't even talk about. But like, we shifted some things so amazingly in the direction that now it's go have that hockey stick event on your P&L where you look back and go, oh, that's the best money I ever spent. Can you see how when we're focused on the outcome for somebody else, $100 million company paying me over 600K is not that much money for them?
Because the value, the ROI is so amazing.
Now they're like, oh, are you kidding? Like angels sing over their heads when I talk to them on a regular basis. They're like, I need your
right. Yes. Yeah. It's always, can I pay you more and you could do more? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what you're doing, let's bring it full circle. What you're doing as a lawyer and an owner of a business and an entrepreneur, and then creating these client experiences that help them walk through a painful season in their life, and then also help your team be celebrated along the way and be champions so that they can either stay with you for a really long time or go off and be their next best selves, like whatever that looks like. And then coming up, spending time. I love it. I love that you actually talked about that you were sitting on your couch with your husband, spending time thinking about the next great 20 ideas. And you're right. Like I say in my household, I say the same thing all the time. I was like, let me say something out loud to just see if it's crazy. And my people know that just basically means, because our brains actually, I can tell you this from lots of years of homeschooling and stuff, like our brains actually hear things differently when we say them out loud. So the reason I say, hey, by the way, let me see if it sounds crazy, it's that because when I say my ideas out loud, then it hits my mind in a completely different way when it comes in through my ears, as opposed to if it's just internal dialogue. So as soon as we speak those ideas out and then we hear them in a different way, then our brain, a different part of our brain gets activated. And then we're like, oh, that's right. It is a great idea. Or I say that
terrible.
I say that a lot. Or I'm like, oh, you're right. That is stupid. That does sound crazy. I have said that too.
Yeah.
See how even just processing that information out loud. Now, different personality styles do that a little bit differently. If you know anything about the DISC personality, right? Yes. Not everybody processes out loud, but can you see how creating an environment where you can talk about the stuff out loud, yay, also for your husband for sitting there with you on the couch and you're like, I have an idea. Let me pitch it to you. And he's, or no, that sounds horrible. We do that a lot in our household. And I do that in my masterminds with my clients because it's so powerful for us to kind of get out of our head, get things down on paper, that's actually what helps. One of my coaches, Ray Edwards, has said, he's a copywriter. He's like a world-renowned copywriter. And he'll say, let's see if I can get this correct. Thinking is not done until you actually write it down. So you have the thought, you process it in your brain, you write it down, and that's the last part. Then you speak it out loud. So those are like the 4 steps of thinking on any idea. And then as we do that, can you see how like you get to use all these different parts of your brain and then you process it and then you evaluate it and go, again, yes, it's amazing. I'm a genius. I am. Or sometimes not so much. That's not a good idea. No, that's too far out. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how fun is this?
So fun. Yeah.
Awesome, Holly. Okay. So do you have any like final thoughts? I'm so excited to talk to you today. This has been amazing.
Do I have any final thoughts? I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've learned from you. Awesome. This has been great.
Holly, how can people get in touch with you if they want to be able to connect with you with your services?
Absolutely. Our website is www.morefamilylawgroup.com. I'm on Instagram at Holly J. Moore. We're on YouTube, More Family Law Group. And also our podcast is called Made for More. And so just Google More Family Law Group or Holly J. Moore and something will pop up.
Yep. Awesome. We'll be sure and put the links in the show notes as well for everybody. So Holly, thank you so much for being here today. I just want to honor you for what you're doing, the hard work, the heavy lifting, all the things you're doing behind the scenes, the way that you're championing other people. not only as your clients and helping them to navigate that so that they can come out better and brighter and stronger on the other side, but then also the way that you're doing that for your team as well. Like I'm so honored to talk to you today and get to know you.
Thank you so much, Anita. I really appreciate you having me.
You bet. Thanks so much for being here.